Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the Technology and Maintenance Council Study Group Chairman Quick Guide webinar. My name is Robert Braswell. I'm the Executive Director of TMC. Today we will see a presentation by our current Chairman of Study Groups, Joe Young with Publix. He's going to walk through all the different things that a Study Group Chairman needs to know when executing his or her duties at a TMC meeting, both before, during, and after. And with that, Joey, take it away.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your support in providing this training today. We're going to quickly look at the agenda. We've got a brief introduction about the training. We're going to look at what we're going to be doing before the event, what kind of happens on day one, what the week looks like. We've got technical sessions during the week. Then we have our wrap up in minutes. And then sometimes we think we're done, but we still have things to do. And then I've got some final tips and takeaways for study group chairmen to consider for that week. So just as a way of introduction, the one thing that's constant at the TMC every year is that there's going to be new leadership. Whether it's study group chairmen, board members, officers, they often change. And the TMC provides multiple resources for these positions that help us understand the duties of that role during the transition. This guide is meant specifically to assist study group chairmen navigate those many responsibilities and tasks required for meeting success. This presentation will attempt to assemble the must-do tasks as a quick reference guide. This is not all-inclusive, and references to TMC's guidelines will be provided for more detail. So before the event even takes place, there are several items that should be in place that will ensure a smooth and successful week. First of all, will any leaders be missing? Sometimes study group chairman, secretary, sergeant-at-arms, et cetera, are absent. We need to have a plan to mitigate that gap. So the first thing, discuss this with your board liaison and the chairman of study groups if there's going to be any leaders missing for the week. The second is task force day. There are several ways that this is done, but an easy way that I have found is having a one slide deck that is created for all task force updates. There's consistency to the slides, there's flow and format that makes the meetings more appealing to the audience. If you have a technical session, you must have a silver spark plug review the session and approve prior to the event. It is best to do 1 or 2 complete dry runs prior to the event, especially if slides are used. Please don't wait until the event to do your first review. Prepare to make as many of the other sessions as possible, not just your own. Anyone wearing a blue, red, or green jacket as a mentor and a TMC leader, be present, be ready for questions. Lastly, you have meetings with your study group leadership team and figure out how to most effectively complete the required minutes after the meeting. This includes the RP updates, the study group meeting minutes, technical session minutes, new RPs, or any other new business. Help your secretaries as most of this information can be completed before the end of the event week. All right, it's day one. So you made your flight, you've kind of checked into your hotel, you registered at the kiosk, you make your way to the administrative room, and now you've got to open up this infamous blue binder for us to review. This is very important. There are reports, instructions, and forms that are key to helping your team plan for future tech sessions, mini tech sessions, leadership changes, or any other new business items that may be discussed. It's also a good time to review any topics for the study group leadership breakfast the next day. This is a very important step for success in the week. So let's just talk about the week in general, and then we'll take some deeper dives. But in a nutshell, it goes by really fast. You've got the study group leadership breakfast, you've got task force day, you've got exhibit hall, you got the town meeting and fleet operators forums to go to, tech sessions and speakers to have and make sure they're in place. You have the administrative wrap up, which is the last day with the blue folder again. And then you've got to get those task force and study group minutes turned in. Hopefully you can do it by the end of the week, but if not, within 21 days after. So let's break these down a little bit. So the study group leadership breakfast should be a last minute review, and task force chairman should be there. This is a good time to talk about what's going on task force day. Task force day, it's important to start and finish on time. Take good notes and don't forget to turn in the green sheets. The town meeting and operators forum require your presence. Please be on time. The exhibit hall, which is at the annual meeting only, is a fan favorite. And if you're wearing a blue jacket, you'll probably get some questions from new attendees. Be ready to answer their questions. Try to attend more of the tech sessions than just your own. Like I said before, get out and explore some of the other technical sessions. The administrative wrap-up comes pretty quick at the end of the week. Take some time before you get there to get your notes and information in order before that meeting occurs. And then finally, the meeting minutes must be turned in 21 days after the event. So it's best, if you can, to complete these before ever leaving the meeting. So here's a question that came up in one of our recent study group meetings, study group chairman meetings. That is, you have a technical session, now what? So if you have a technical session or a mini tech, what is required? First of all, what is the difference in the two? Well, it's pretty simple. A mini tech just means you will conduct your study group business meeting at the beginning of the session. If it's a full tech, your business session will be separate and a little longer. You may also have no other tech sessions running at the same time. That's pretty much it. TMC has a document that details the how and the what, but in a nutshell, you are creating a presentation that is about an hour and 15 minutes long. You'll need a topic, subject matter experts, a silver spark plug to review, and time to practice the presentation. There are many ways to execute a technical session. Some do PowerPoints, others have panels of experts. Some even make it like a game show, and those can be very exciting. The key to success is to get your panelists early, like while you're at the event. The event hall is full of subject matter experts that will likely be more than willing to help. Once you have those locked in, really the rest is easy. During the next 6 months, 3 to 4 meetings with 1 or 2, including a silver spark plug, will usually deliver great tech results. The administrative wrap-up is, again, a dive into that blue folder that we talked about. Yet again, there's an opportunity to come prepared. Have your next TMC meeting agenda done before you get there and ready to turn in. Task Force Day is done. If you plan on requesting time for a technical session, have a topic ready. If you have other ideas ready as well. TMC leadership has a cadence, and once you figure that out, the blue folder is pretty easy. Even with all the documents, the information, mentors, and TMC leadership, there still seems to be a gap. We have new study group chairs almost every meeting, and the required minutes needed to produce the Trailblazer are sometimes not turned in on time. Information about RPs are sometimes not in the correct format. Business session notes are confusing or contradicting to other RP notes. Tech session notes are not included maybe. Any of these issues halts the TMC creative process and delays the Trailblazer. On the next slide, you'll see some good examples of what and how to submit your administrative paperwork. So the Trailblazer is a technical journal of TMC general meetings. It is a legal requirement. In this example of the minutes from the Trailblazer, you see the concise and consistent editorial tone that the TMC staff applies to your notes. One of the biggest opportunities is the variation in notes turned in. It has been suggested to use the Trailblazer as a guide for the minutes you turn in. Less is more in most situations. In this example of the minutes from the Trailblazer that covers a technical session, again, you see concise and consistent editorial tone the TMC staff applies to your notes. Again, continued here, you can see the minutes are chronologically written and follow the event of the session. TMC staff will tweak what you give them, but the closer you can get to this format, the better. So let's talk about the business session. This is a very important part and one that's often done incorrectly. The business session is your report on the events of the study group. In recent years, these sessions have mistakenly included subjects and conversations not intended for the report. Looking at the example here and on the next slide, create a similar agenda and report. In general, the business session is not a time for major discussions or ideas to be presented, but more of a time to report. As shown here, start with a welcome and intro, review the TMC bylaws, review the task force results, review the technical session, do a Q&A, report on the new business that was introduced to the study group that week, and adjourn. Keep it simple and straightforward. Remember, you are reporting on what happened in your study group that week. RP updates are required to be done every 5 years. Not all of these need to have its own task force created to review. A good practice is to use time known in your schedule as RP updates. This allows generic time to discuss multiple RPs in the meeting in that one block of time. For example, RP 607C is coming up for review next meeting, and you can review that RP with the members present and first determine if anyone feels the RP needs to be updated since its last update. Most of the time, RPs will require some minor editing. Other times, it's a major rewrite. Not as often, it doesn't need updating at all. So in these instances, what are you required to do? If you look to the left, you'll see examples of each. One of the biggest mistakes repeated is in the first example. In the minutes, it will be written that the RP was reviewed, minor changes were discussed, and the majority voted to refer the RP for reissue. An RP can only be reissued if no changes are noted. It is fine for the group to discuss different ideas while reviewing the RP, but if the agreement ends up being reissued, then the notes just need to reflect the vote. So if you look at all three of these on the left-hand side, you can see an example of no changes, minor changes, and major changes. So for no changes, it would simply read, there were no changes were required. The task force decided to refer this RP to the study group chairman and TMC staff for reissue. Very simple, very plain, right to the point. Minor changes would be written like this. Said that we reviewed the RP and only minor grammatical changes are required. Those changes will be documented and forwarded to the study group chairman. The task force decided to refer this RP as amended to the study group chairman and TMC staff for revision without the need for reballoting. Remember, these are minor changes that are occurring. Major changes are something else. Major changes would be things like the technical diagrams as called out here in this example. Those changes will be documented and forwarded to the study group chairman. And in this case, the task force decided to refer this RP as amended to the study group chairman and TMC staff for the balloting process. So it's the end of the week and you think you're done. Well, maybe not. So the week's over, all the meetings were a success, and you're walking out of the administrative wrap-up feeling pretty good. Done, right? Well, maybe not. The study group secretary has less than 21 days to get you the notes for review before you need to get them to the TMC. This deadline is very important. Inevitably, there will be some questions about the minutes. TMC needs some time to make those calls and still get the Trailblazer out on time. If it's done right, most of the minutes can be completed before the week ends. And one of the bigger hangups is RP markups. Task force chairmen need to have these ready before the meeting's appearance. Formatting is not important, but content is. Let me say that again. Appearance and formatting is not important, but content is. This makes editing at the meeting easier and enables the study group chairman and secretary to have the files ready to attach. This is task number one. Secondly, start working on your upcoming tech session. Get a meeting set up within 30 days with your team and panel to start working on the details. You got to keep that engagement going or things will kind of fall off. Lastly, set up a meeting with your team about 15 days post-meeting to review what went right, what could have been better, and if the minutes are still being worked on, to get those completed ASAP. So here's some final tips and takeaways. First of all, I want to personally thank you for your service. These roles are volunteer driven, and we realize that your time is extremely valuable. And we sincerely appreciate you sharing your knowledge and time with the industry. Second, build your bench. Prepare others for the opportunity to lead a study group as a chairman. It's a wonderful opportunity and experience. Be there. Be a study group chairman all year, not just at the events. Learn what your responsibilities are and execute those all year long. It makes the meetings go so much smoother. And lastly, consider being a TMC mentor. The blue jacket identifies you as a TMC leader already, so you might as well go to the meeting and get the button. Again, thank you for your time. I hope this was helpful, and thank you for being a TMC leader. Thank you.
So, Joe, we just have a few minutes here for questions and an observation leading into a question. So one of the things that we find, particularly for a new study group chair, they will come to their first, maybe it's their second meeting as study group chair, and all sorts of things go wrong on site. You know, the secretary didn't show up. We don't know who's going to be handling those details. We don't know who the vice chairman is for some reason. What would be some advice you would give to a new study group chair, or even an experienced study group chair, about ensuring your team will be at the meeting before you get there?
I think it's a great question, and we kind of touched on it in the presentation, but you got to be a study group chair all year long. And you should know, unless something last minute happens, who's not coming to the meeting. So phone calls and conversations and participation throughout the 6 months in between the meetings is critical. So if you have a tech session, you should be having multiple meetings for that. Your secretary, your vice chair, and yourself should be reviewing what's going to happen before, the task force day, putting your presentation together. Really, everything should be set up before you ever get there. Now, there has been times where at the last minute, as a study group chairman, my vice chair couldn't come. He had a personal thing that happened last minute, and but we were so ready, we were able to pivot really quickly, meet all the needs of the task force day and the technical session. We had our bench a little bit deeper. So we had the second vice chair able to kind of step up and help out. So you just got to stay engaged all year long. You got to, just like any other job that you do, you got to stay out in front of those responsibilities and keep everybody in tune and lined up.
So it sounds like the key to success is if you're a study group chair, you don't want to divorce yourself of your responsibilities as study group chair. It's fine to let members of your team take leadership roles in support of a mini tech and so forth, but ultimately you're responsible for the execution of that study group session and mini tech.
That is correct.
Another question too. So at the meeting, we always have new attendees. We have folks that are just getting active in a particular task force or study group, and they'll sign the attendance roster. We call them the green sheets. And sometimes we hear from the attendees, gee, I signed the green sheet, but nobody ever followed up with me after the fact. What are some suggestions you would give to the study group leadership in making sure that the folks that do want to help you out, do want to be engaged and follow up on the projects you're working on, remain engaged?
Well, as far as the green sheet goes, those individuals that are signing that, I've already throughout the meeting had a conversation with them and got them plugged in. So I've got their information as well. And I'm going to make sure that if they want to participate in any of the events, and they're not just signing a piece of paper that gets turned in, I'm having that conversation with them in the meeting. And I think that, doing that in the beginning and get them assigned to the task force they want to be a part of, gets them engaged really early. And then when they go to the various task force meetings, whether it's in between or at the meetings, that they're plugged in, they're ready to go, and they feel like they're part of what they're working on.
And a final question, sometimes what happens at a TMC meeting, particularly after a TMC meeting, there'll be 2 or 3 years worth of work sometime that goes into a task force's recommended practice. Spend a lot of time working on it. They get a draft ready. They take a vote, and they're all done, and they're ready to go to ballot with it. And then for some reason, nobody turns it into the study group chairman. And TMC staff doesn't know that it even exists. And a year goes by and says, well, we thought we balloted that. What would be some advice you would give to your study group leaders to prevent that from happening?
Well, that's a tough one right there. That's a lot of time being spent, in task force. I can speak from my experience. When we were working on, different RPs or a new RP, I just stayed very engaged in each one of those RPs to make sure that I knew, from beginning to end, where we were at. And so I think the key word is engagement, Robert. The study group chairman has to be engaged in every element of task force day, in any of the other technical sessions. They're the leader, they're running it. And that really just shouldn't happen. To be honest with you, Robert, in my opinion, it just shouldn't happen.
And the task force planning amendment sheet will help you in that. You've got to fill that out in advance of the Thursday administrative wrap-up meeting. When you do complete that process, it shouldn't just be pick up from the last time and fill in the blanks and change the dates. It should be an opportunity for you to get a status report on all the different activities happening within your study group. That's one of the reasons we say in the Study Group Chairman's Guide, you really should limit the number of task forces you have at any one given time, because the span of control, quite frankly, is limited to about 7, maybe 8. And beyond that, you really can't get a handle on everything. It's just too much for one person to handle. So, keep your goals, realistic, and stay on top of the groups under your responsibility.
Totally agree.
Well, that's about all the time we have for this study group leadership quick guide. We appreciate your time today, Joey, and we look forward to future videos like this with you. This will be part of an ongoing series where we try to help study group chairs acclimate to the roles and responsibilities they have for this particular leadership role in the council. And we thank you for your time. With that,
Thank
this
you,
is
Robert.
Robert Braswell, TMC Executive Director, signing off.